Progress. Welcome, everybody. We are very, very excited to bring this event to you this evening. My name is 𝗬𝗲𝗬𝗲, and I'm part of the Professional Women's Network. Been a SCORE mentor now for, coming up for 4.5 years. Really, really enjoy the work that we do at SCORE. We want to just let you know that we are recording the event. So if you prefer not to be recorded, we would ask you please to take yourself off camera and mute your microphone so you can listen in without the risk of being recorded if that's what you don't want to do. We are encouraging that you, though, please, to use the chat feature. We will be stopping at certain times just to see whether there are any questions, and I will try and monitor the chat as well. Oh gosh, we've got someone joining us from the Poconos on vacation. Thank you for joining. That's marvelous. But yeah, I'll stop every so often for any questions. We do have a couple of polls that we'd like you to be interactive with and complete for us. So we're going to pass over to the next slide, please. And I just want to talk through what we have laid out for you this evening. So we're going to go through just a little bit about what is the Professional Women's Network. Why did we set it up? Why do we feel it's important? And we're very keen to hear about other ideas that you might like us to bring to you. And there will be a poll at the end of this presentation. Our main event, though, is going to be 𝗓𝗔𝗍𝗍 who's going to be talking to us about branding basics. What you need to know as a small business about branding. So I've been lucky. I've been able to look at the slides. We're in for a really great event, so looking forward to that. After that session, we will have a very, very quick sort of roundup, some Q&A, a quick feedback survey. We want to make sure that we're delivering things to you that are of value. So that's why we ask you, please, if you would hang on towards the end, just to make sure that we get some feedback regarding the actual webinar. So if I go to the next slide, I want to talk a little bit about the SCORE Professional Women's Network. This was started in October 2021. And the genesis was that a lot of women in particular were adversely impacted by what was happening with COVID and the pandemic, juggling maybe having a side hustle, starting a business, running a business, managing children at home, with homeschooling. You know, it feels like, gosh, a while back now that we were going through COVID. But that's really where the genesis came from for this network. And we believe at SCORE that women bring unique perspectives and have distinctive challenges when it comes to business. And we want to look at how we can continue to diversify and encourage small business in our local geography. So we're very, very keen to do that. If I could please ask people to go on mute, that would be great. Thank you. Okay. So if we move on to the next slide, the target audience we have for our Professional Women's Network, we want to get people who are motivated and interested and creative from the whole diverse cross-section of our community. I think we're stronger together. I think we learn from each other, and we want to reach out to all parts of our community. We're looking at people who are wanting to start a business, or maybe are already in business, but are looking for both practical and emotional support as they go on that journey. We're looking at providing very, very practical information, but also building a support network so that we can help you with those concerns you might have about juggling childcare, managing a number of different things at the same time. And we feel that when women are successful in business, that has a natural ripple effect on our communities. We believe that our communities and our families are strengthened through the success of women being successful. So as we move on to our main event, would like to introduce someone who is giving of her time, and I'm really excited to introduce 𝗓𝗓𝗍𝗍 to you. Jennifer is a strategist, a marketeer, and a great creative leader with more than 20 years of experience in developing brand, content, digital, and traditional marketing strategies for Fortune 500 companies, consumers, and business to business brands. So, a fantastic pedigree. She's held a number of leadership positions in both agency and corporate environments, helping companies in industries ranging from tourism and technology to heavy equipment and engineering. So I know we're going to be in safe hands here as I pass over to Jennifer and ask her please to take it away.
Good evening, and thank you for the lovely introduction. And thank you all for joining us this evening because this is a very important topic for every small business owner or even an aspiring one to understand. Marketing is an essential thing for businesses to grow and succeed, and branding is fundamental to all of it. So, by the end of this session, you are going to understand the basics of branding and also why it's so important to your business. So, these are some of the things that you're going to learn. We're going to talk about what a brand is and isn't, why branding matters, what really makes a strong brand, more importantly, how for you to define your brand strategy so you can have a strong brand, how to bring your brand to life, and then some ideas about building a brand on a limited budget. But before we get into it, to kick things off, we're going to do a quick poll because the word branding, it is used so broadly. It can be really hard to know what somebody means when they're talking about a brand. So we're going to take a survey to see what this group thinks branding is.
Okay, so we've launched a survey and we'd like you please to use your system here to put down what you think a brand is. And we've got various options: logo, visual identity, slogan or a tagline, a product, service, advertising, marketing, or maybe none of these. So we've got quite a few people there that have participated. And we can see here, and Jennifer, maybe you want to read off the results that we're looking at here.
So it looks like we have 47% for a logo, visual identity coming in really high at 82%, slogan or tagline at 47%, and then some of the lower ones with the product to service, advertising and marketing, and none of the above. 3 out of 17 looks like said none of the above. And those of you that said that, branding is actually not any of the things that were on that list. It's actually kind of all of these things. All of these things, they're not a brand on their own, but together they all help create one. So, what is a brand? This is why it's so hard to define. It's a total sum of experiences, it's associations, it's emotions, it's perceptions that customers have with a business and its offerings. It differentiates a business and it creates a unique identity. So, those of you that said identity, you're right, but it's beyond a visual identity. It's shaped by many factors: a company's purpose, the values, culture, your products, your services, reputation, everything, all the interactions that customers have with your brand. And most importantly, it is a promise. It is a promise you make about your business to your customers. And here's the thing: you are a part of your brand. You, as the most prominent person in your business, you are an essential part of the brand. So a brand, it's not what you say it is. It really is what customers say what it is. So I like to think of it in terms of, if you don't define your brand, other people are going to do it for you. Because if you think about, like, if you're not in the room, what do people say about you when you're not in the room? That's what your brand is. That's why branding matters, and you want to get out ahead of it. And it is so important for a small business because a brand that is strong is going to help you stand out. It's going to help you connect and resonate with your target audiences, set you apart from the competition, and break through in what is a really crowded and saturated marketplace. There's going to be a lot of other people that are selling the same thing that you are selling. A good brand can help establish trust and loyalty, lead to more and repeat sales, and also, once you've been at it for a long time, you can command a better price. And if you're really lucky, you get to a point where your customers, they sell your business, they sell your product, and we call those brand ambassadors because the customers are so loyal that they help do your marketing for you. So this is why every small business needs a brand strategy. But a lot of people get very excited about the pretty things or the pictures or the logos and those aspects, the visual aspects, or just running an ad. And before you think about the tactical things like that, you have to be really clear on who you are as a company and as a brand. And that's what a brand strategy is. A brand strategy is going to help you deliberately determine where your company fits in with your customer's world, because it is not about you, it is about your customer. We talked about why branding is important, but how do you create a good one? So we're going to take a deeper dive. We're going to talk about some of these things to set up the fundamentals. And first thing is, what makes a strong brand? We're going to look at some examples of strong brands, talk a little bit about what impacts brand perception, and then give you some simple steps to really get started with the branding process. First, I want to talk about coffee. Let's think about coffee because it's something that you probably, as soon as you think about coffee, whether you drink it or not, you can list a whole bunch of coffee brands. As of 2022, there was $48 billion in the US as far as the market size for coffee. And I want you to think, who do you think has the bulk share of that? It's Starbucks. Starbucks has $32 billion of that $48 billion total. Starbucks is a very well-known, established brand. Whether you like Starbucks or not, you kind of have to wonder, though, why does somebody pay like 10 times more for a cup of coffee at Starbucks? Because brand matters. It is not about the coffee. Coffee is the what, not the why. The brand is the why. Because brand is not that one thing. It is not just a good cup of coffee. It's everything. Remember from the beginning, we talked about brand being hard to define because it's all of these total experiences summed together. So everything that a customer comes in contact with, the associations, the emotions, the perceptions, it all rolls up into what they think about the brand. So from that barista saying hello and giving you a greeting, to the background music, to all of those really complicated coffee options, every aspect of that plays into what makes their brand. So I like to have kind of an illustration because there are so many things. Customers come in contact with you in so many different ways. And you may just initially think about things like, oh, well, they come in contact with myself or the employees, but it's also things like packaging or signage, and yes, the logo. If you have a social media website, that's also another touch point. So all of these things really need to be consistent and represent your brand because they all have potential impact on it. So let's look at some examples of strong brands and talk about why they're strong. And it's likely that I picked some really big popular brands, so it's likely that you've had some experience with at least one of these brands. So I'm going to review the way these companies, not my words, the way these companies describe their brand, what their brand promises. And as I go through them, I want you to think about, is this true? Like if you've had experience with them, do you believe what they're saying about them as a brand? These are the ones we're going to look at. We are going to start with Starbucks. Starbucks says that they aim to inspire and nurture the human spirit, one person, one cup, and one neighborhood at a time. They have built their brand around the key pillars of quality, convenience, and experience. FedEx says that their brand promise is to provide fast delivery, professionalism, and efficiency at a reasonable cost. Nike is aspiring to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. That's a pretty big promise. And McDonald's McDonald's brand promise is to make delicious, feel-good moments easy for everyone. McDonald's offers up good food served quickly at a low cost, in their words, no matter where you go in the world. These are really different companies and they do very different things. And the way they've described their brands are also very different. So, what do they all have in common? What they have in common is the fact that they're unique. They have clear, unique, and consistent approaches that differentiate themselves as a business and work to build connections with customers emotionally. They have a defined brand promise and they consistently deliver it across all those touch points, that wheel. They're doing it as best as they can wherever a customer comes in contact with them. So we're going to have a little chat here. Please participate, and Beverly's going to help monitor that. We'd like you to share your experience. Just name a brand you like and why you like it. What is it about that brand or their company or product? What is it that makes it a positive thing for you? Why do you like it? Share in the chat.
And I will monitor that and read them out as they come through.
I guess
We have a show. Come on.
I'll go ahead and share something.
Thank you.
I'm not a big internet person that buys a lot of things on the internet, but I found a company who does protein shakes, and I was looking for something that had a lot of vitamins in it and so forth. And I really don't like a lot of protein shakes. I think they really taste terrible. And this one just kept popping up and popping up and popping up and popping up everywhere. So finally I broke down and bought it, even though they wouldn't give me a sample. I broke down and bought it. And it did take me a little bit of time to get used to it. But what I really like is how they provide a lot of information about their products. They also have a really exceptional website where they show you how you can incorporate that into your life with recipes. They give you like on a monthly, I don't know, delivery. Like I said, I don't ever buy anything online. I am like anti-online purchaser. I like buy nothing online. This is really the only thing I've ever bought online, and it has been a good experience. So, and their packaging looks nice. I mean, I say the product does everything that they promise it does. So I'm very happy with it. And that's probably one of the only things that I can really say that about anything that I've ever purchased.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, well, it sounds like Stephanie, it sounds like you are now a brand ambassador, even though you didn't mention the company's name. So that's good. I mean, that's fantastic. And that's a great example. So thank you for sharing, because you mentioned how there were so many different things that you were skeptical at first, it sounded, but you were convinced because they hit you at different places with a positive thing that kind of pulled you over to their side.
That's great. That's great. We have some others in the chat here as well. We have Jessica talking about Simply Earth. It's an essential oils company, loves their oils, minimal cost, and the fact that their proceeds go to help end human trafficking. That's what drew me to them.
So was it Jessica?
Jessica, yeah.
What you just called out, the proceeds going to something that helps a cause, that is a fantastic way for businesses, if they can share their charitable giving, things like that, you can really connect with people that have shared values. So that is a fantastic way to meet customers, to build emotional connections with customers, because you feel the same way as the brand does about that topic. So thank you for that example.
Yeah, great. We have another one here also from Wendy about Starbucks. Starbucks knows your name, your favorite drink, and what you're doing and how you're doing. Wendy, your usual or something else? How's that working out? Starbucks corporate office came to our hospital in Utah to study why their sales were so over the top. It's all about relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. So we won't ask how much you spend on coffee in a month, Wendy. We'll move on to that. But I'm glad you could relate to the example that we had. And I see another one here. We have Amazon. Oh yeah, I mean I considered including that as an example because that is just the paramount as far as a brand really making a promise and delivering on it. You got the convenience, like you said, the ease of returns. They whatever you want, they have it, and they're going to have it at the right price. So thank you for sharing, Amy.
Yeah, another vote for Starbucks here by Crystal. So Starbucks are doing something right, that's for sure.
Yeah. Fantastic. All right. So we talked about some strong brands. Well, how do you create one for your business? Because, right, you're not Starbucks and you're not Amazon, and you certainly don't have the resources or funds of those individuals. So how do you get started? Well, it goes back to this brand strategy, and it's a process. It's a process of creating unique, consistent message, image, and experience, and a reputation. And it just starts with some pretty basic questions. Start by answering these questions. Who are you? Who's the audience? What's the competition doing? And what makes you unique? So, who are you? That sounds like a really simple question, but I'm not talking about something like I'm someone that sells tacos or I sell custom jewelry. My business sells custom jewelry. It's really about getting clarity on who you are and what you're about, because the more you can infuse that into your identity, the more your brand is going to stand out and grab customers' attentions. So if you need to be able to really readily answer questions like this. How would you describe your company in 3 words? What would they be? What is your purpose, your mission, and your value? What do I really want to be known for in the marketplace? What do I want people to experience when interacting with my brand? And the last one is bold, because we've already talked about this a little bit with the examples. This is so important, and it's what is my brand promise? And what is the brand promise? Again, the brand promise is a commitment made by a business to deliver on a brand experience for its customers. It's Starbucks knowing Wendy's name. It's I can't remember what the name of the herbalist company, but giving to a cause to stop human trafficking. That is a promise, and they're going to deliver on that. Thank you, Mary Beth. So it really needs to embody the larger mission and impact that you aim to have. It's not about the product you sell. Like my example, I sell tacos. It goes beyond selling products and services. It states what customers can expect when they engage with your brand. And it really has to be authentic and create a connection. You cannot fake this, right? And it's really crucial for building trust and loyalty over time. If FedEx doesn't deliver my packages on time like they say they're going to, I'm going to stop using FedEx, right? So I want to talk a little bit about, because this is a thing that people often confuse, and it's the idea of a brand promise versus a tagline. So a brand promise, and actually this is why I had this juxtaposition with both of them side by side. The brand promise, as you said, it's not a product or service. It is generally a very succinct and simple statement, like the examples with FedEx and Starbucks and McDonald's. It's not always something that's advertised, okay? It's consistent, and you absolutely need one. A tagline is this catchy advertising thing. It generates interest in a product or service. It's usually created for an ad campaign. It can change over time. You have some companies that have had the same tagline for years, and then there are ones that have gone through different iterations of them. You do not need one. So do not leave this thinking that, oh, if I'm going to have a strong brand, I have to have a tagline. You do not have a tagline. It is more important that you know who you are as a company and what your brand promise is than to have some catchy little tagline. So don't worry about that. So example here, the brand promise with Nike was to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. But the tagline is just do it. And that is one that they have owned for a very long time. McDonald's brand promise, to make delicious feel-good moments easy for everyone. But their tagline is I'm loving it. So to emphasize one last time, the brand promise, this is what you will get, you customer, you will get every time that you interact with my business. It is only by keeping your brand promise that you need trust from your audience, and that's what's going to breed brand loyalty. If you have an idea on what your brand promise might be, or if you even have an answer to, oh, how would I describe my business or my potential business in 3 words, just jot it down, okay? If not, don't worry. because we're going to share some ways to help you think through that and craft it. But if you just felt inspired, write it down on a piece of paper before you lose it. Right now, we're going to get into some more questions that are going to help you define your brand. So we talked about who you are, and the next thing is who your target audience is. A lot of times, small businesses, they focus so much on what kind of products and services that they want to deliver that they completely forget figuring out who they're trying to sell those products and services to. And the answer is not everyone. Okay, it can't be everyone. And it actually even needs to be more narrow than suburban moms. Okay, these are the kinds of questions you really need to take a deep dive and go beyond just a generic description or just saying, hey, I want anybody that'll buy from me. You need to think about things at this level of depth and go through it and do exploration and do research that, to tell you more about your target audience. The other thing that you want to look at is the competition. You want to review your competitors and you want to review what they're doing and also what they're not doing. This is not about copying the competition. It can help you identify gaps when you look at the competition and what their brand promise is, what they're out there saying, thinking about and talking to people about what they do well or they don't do well, and how they're positioning themselves, their unique value proposition. And you need a unique value proposition. So we're going to talk about that. But the competition is not about copying the competition, because that's not going to be authentic and that is not going to be you. You need to discover this on your own for your company. You need to discover what makes you unique, because no matter what your business does, there's going to be other companies, likely a lot of other companies that are doing the same thing. So what makes your business different, valuable, and relevant? And this is called a UVP, or a unique value proposition. It's a short statement. And it's a short statement that says, this is why someone should do business with you. If you think about it as like a little bit of an elevator speech, kind of like, I got to sell you on doing business with me, that's sort of your unique value proposition. And it's really at the core of your branding. And these are the kinds of things you want to think about, the questions that you want to ask yourself to identify what your UVP is for your business. Not just what makes you different, but some of the strengths and the benefits, what sets you apart from competitors, and how you actually address the needs and the pain points of your customers. It's, again, not about you. It's about how you're helping somebody else, how you are like Amazon, delivering that convenience, delivering that best price, and delivering that package on time when you say you are going to. This is important. So I want to talk a little bit more about the unique value proposition, because it's something that once you define it, it really needs to be a part of all of your brand communications. And I'm going to give an example, and I'm going to talk about tacos, and it's because I haven't had dinner yet and I'm thinking about tacos. Let's talk about tacos in terms of, let's say my business is I have a taco truck. Or actually, let's say you have a taco truck. You have a taco truck, and you are thinking that your unique value proposition is saying, well, I sell delicious tacos. That is not a unique value proposition. That's table stakes. If you're selling tacos, you better be selling delicious, good tasting tacos, right? Okay, you're not going to get anywhere if your tacos don't taste great. A unique value proposition, if you can say, I make fresh tacos daily, they're hand pressed, they're deep fried puffy tacos, they're from a recipe that my grandmother taught me, and she was from Veracruz, and they are so good, they are fried to crispy perfection. That is a unique value proposition. So think about the things that really set you apart. Do you only use local ingredients on a menu? Do you have a heritage or a family history in the business? And these are the kind of things that are going to serve you really well for developing your unique value proposition. Any questions on some of the things that we just talked about there before we pull this all together and kind of help you figure out how to bring it together in a meaningful way? Yep. Okay. So these are the questions that you're going to go through the process of answering for yourself. And then it's all going to get pulled together in a brand positioning statement. And the positioning statement is what captures all the information that you just defined in one distilled statement. So picture you've got a Word document or a binder full of information, all these questions that you've answered. And now you're going to distill it down into something that is going to summarize for you, for your employees, your family and friends, potential business partners, all these questions that you've answered in one clear statement. So these are the questions that we looked at. Here's an example of how this works. I'm going to give you an example with fill in the blanks. This will be in a handout for you to take away so you can think about it. And this is a great template for writing your own brand positioning statement once you did the homework of answering those questions. So here's an example. For target audience, your brand name promises these things. This is unique to your brand name because of these proof points. Proof points are also called like reasons to believe, essentially. And this is why target audience should select brand name, because they can expect these benefits every time. I'm going to use my taco example to show you how that would work. For Mexican food lovers, 𝗷𝗚𝗓𝗏𝗂𝗡𝗏𝗂𝗡𝗏𝗂𝗔 tacos are the only tacos made fresh daily, hand-pressed and deep-fried to crispy perfection. That's because only 𝗷𝗚𝗓𝗏𝗂𝗡𝗏𝗂𝗧 use our great-grandmother's Mexican recipe to achieve a soft and chewy interior and snappy, flaky exterior, making any taco filling extraordinary. So this is the exact same thing as that slide before. I just replaced it with the information answering questions for my future taco business. So the brand positioning is the essence of your brand in plain words. And it takes time to craft it, but once you do it, you have the foundation of your branding because it's going to be infused into everything that you do. We have a handout that will be made available to you that has some of these starter questions. It has that fill in the blanks example to help you get started with all of this. There are some brainstorming questions. And then there are some more, I don't want to say advanced, but sort of more next step type things that are in this handout, because it is important to do things like think about your logo and what your brand identity is going to look like, but it's too much for one session. So we just kind of have a little short handout that you can take with you and reference that to take a deeper dive into some of these things that you see on the screen here. I will take a break for questions here quick before we move on to the next and final part of our discussion today, and that's some ideas about how to build your brand, because once you have this great, well-defined brand, you need to promote it. And if you don't have a big budget, you don't have a lot of resources, I'm going to give you some ideas on how to do that. So before we go into that, are there any questions?
There's a comment here that I'd like to share from Amy. I've been in business 7 years and I just assumed my partner and I were on the same page. Now I'm realizing we probably don't even have the same definition of what a brand is. That's very insightful.
That is. And Amy, you now know, and you're right. So you go tell your partner that you know what a brand is, and here's why.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
What about others of you? Any other questions for Jennifer before we move into the next section?
Okay.
I think we're good. Yeah.
All right. Very good. Here we go. Okay. We're going to go through high-level examples just to kind of get you thinking about some things. And this is the kind of thing like I'm going to give you enough that you're going to have to go research it on your own, but at least it'll be like, oh, I should look into XYZ. The first thing, and this is a really easy thing, is online directories and local listings. You take advantage of these things because they're free, and you can list your business on these directories and their local listing platforms. These free listings, they're going to help improve your online visibility. They will help people find you and other businesses find you. So it's not even just about the customers. It's about maybe somebody's looking for sourcing something or partnering with a business. So these listings are really important. There are all sorts of different ones. You probably are familiar with a lot of them, but it's things like Google My Business, Facebook has them, Yelp, even having a presence on LinkedIn, Bing Places, Foursquare. There's tons of them. This is a very simple first step just to make sure that your information is up there, that it is accurate, and it's going to help make you more findable. Social media marketing. Social media marketing is a lot of work. I am not going to lie about that. And a lot of people think that all they need to do is, oh, I got a Facebook page, I'm good to go. That is not the case. Yes, you need to have a Facebook page if that's where your audience is, or you need to be on TikTok or wherever, but you need to have an active presence. You can't just slap some information up there and then never go in, never update it, and never respond to anything. You have to be active. So, my advice to you is pick one place you want to be and do it really well rather than trying to spread yourself super thin and be everywhere and have a stale Instagram account and a Facebook page that hasn't been updated for years and one video on TikTok. Just pick something, get it going, and engage with your target audience, interact with your followers. It looks terrible if somebody's actually asking you a question and you're not answering it. The other thing is to think about how you can share content and not just promote your business. So if I am selling nutritional supplements, I can give tips about healthy eating, about wellness, things that relate to my product, but is not always trying to get you to buy something, because you have to give value beyond just saying, hey, buy my stuff. Okay. The other thing you can think about doing, and when I say valuable content, that's things that you could write on your own or source. So that is also an inexpensive thing. You could run contests and giveaways. This will help get people engaged and coming back. So let's say you're going to have a contest and then you're going to announce the winner in a certain amount of days. People will come back for that. Or you get somebody to sign up for an email in order to, participate in the contest. And then that's a great way for you to have contact information, and just think about different ways to have reasons to interact with individuals on social media. Website optimization. It's obvious that you need to have a website, but when we're talking about optimizing your website, it's optimizing things for people and also for technology. So it is important that you have keywords and content that are relevant to what you are selling. You also really need to make sure that your website is optimized to work across all devices. You think about I would say most people are looking at things on their phone versus desktop versus an iPad. A lot of the out-of-the-box solutions, cheap things like WordPress and things like that, they take care of that for you, right? It's going to make sure that it works across everything, but it is really super important because you don't want somebody to look you up on their phone and then they check it out on desktop later and it doesn't work. It's not a good experience. I gave the example with social media about registering for a contest. Find ways with your website for people to interact with you and maybe capture information. So let's say you decide you're going to have a newsletter where people can sign up to find out about specials or features or something like that. Even a contact form, ask a question, give your email address, or a text. Opting into text messaging is like way better as far as responses, but you have to have permission both with email and with text marketing. So it's not the kind of thing where you can just spam people. You want people to opt in by providing that information to you, and then you're getting consent to communicate with them. If you have a website, you need to meet expectation for basic features and functions. And what I mean by that is if you have we'll say a spa, people expect to be able to look for appointment availability, book online. If I have to pick up the phone and call you, it's already making it harder for me, especially when I can Google and find 10 other spas that will allow me to book online. So it's important to make sure that you have some basic features and functions for what a customer base is going to expect. Okay, referral programs and customer reviews. At the very beginning, we talked about the fact that your brand is what customers say it is. So it is really important to have positive customer reviews, and you will not always have positive customer reviews. So it's even more important to respond to the negative ones. You want to seek proactively those reviews, because if you can have more positive ones, it's going to help when you do get those negative ones. And you can do this by offering incentives for people to give referrals or post a review. Good reviews help in a lot of ways. It does help with search. It does help with building proof, those proof points to kind of build that trust in your brand. It means a lot more when I hear it from somebody else than when I hear it from a brand that they're great. You guys all see reviews, it goes a long way. Email marketing, talked a little bit about this already. Starting to build up an email list. And this is the kind of thing too that you don't want to start to do email marketing until you have something to say. If you say, hey, here's my new email newsletter, and you send it out once and then never do it again, that's a lost opportunity. So better to come up with ideas to kind of build a library of things that you want to talk about and content before you start sending out a newsletter. Because again, just like with your brand, you want it to be consistent. You don't want it to be all over the place, or they're going to unsubscribe. If you're lucky enough to get them to subscribe, you want to keep them, right? All of our inboxes are crowded with junk. And all it takes is something not being relevant, and then all of a sudden you're gone from my inbox. Okay, content marketing. This mentioned a little bit earlier in terms of if you're doing social media, putting content out there that is going to be helpful to audiences and not just to selling your products. The whole idea about content marketing is that instead of doing advertising, trying to put a little ad in a magazine or an online Facebook ad or something like that, your content starts to do the marketing for you. And then people are interested and engaged because they can rely on you for good stuff. Whether it's starting a blog, you can contribute to other people's blogs because blogging is a lot of work. So if you make a connection and just ask to do a guest appearance, maybe on somebody that has an established blog or website presence, or do like a video chat an Instagram reel with somebody, something like that, you take advantage too of other people's channels. Create informative videos, again, not just selling, but maybe teaching somebody something. Example with the spa or hair salon, it could be techniques to relax during a stressful workday, an informative little video about little stretches that you could do. You could very easily produce that on your own in your own business and then post that and start to have a YouTube channel with things like that. And all these sort of activities, when you have content out there, it really helps to establish your expertise. And the more content you have, it's going to make you more findable and help drive traffic to your website and increase your visibility.
Jonathan, that's the question.
Yes.
How often, I don't know if there's an answer to this, but how often should people think about posting on social media? I mean, is it twice a week? Is it twice a month? Can you give any guidance on that?
I think it's going to depend on your channel, your follower base, and how engaged they are. Certainly not twice a month. I would say if you're only going to be able to do something twice a month, don't bother. Because it's just not going to look good. Whatever is realistic for you to be able to do. And then let's say you're just going to start with having something like, I'm going to have a Facebook page. I'm going to make sure my menu's up there. And I'm going to, at least twice a week, I'm going to feature whatever our featured ice cream flavor is. And you commit to doing that once a week, and you commit to doing something else, let's say like 2 to 3 times a week minimum for something like that. But again, it depends on the channel. It really does.
Thank you.
Like if you're talking about a younger audience, and you're talking about TikTok, you got to be out there all the time. It's like boom, 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 like constant. So it's a different expectation depending on your target audience and the demographic.
Great, thanks.
Yep. Partnerships and collaborations. Do as much as you can to seek out opportunities with other businesses or industry influencers, looking to co-host events or cross-promote each other. And it could be cross-promoting each other on social media. It could be as simple as that. Talked about guest blogs. You could do shared social media posts where you're partnering with another business and maybe you're jointly having a contest. Great thing about that is if other people get exposed to your brand through that other business, those are a whole bunch of followers or potential audience people that you didn't have in your own social network. So if you could tap into somebody else, that's going to get you more exposure. Attending conferences, that's a pretty obvious one, just to try and meet people wherever you can. Community involvement, this also goes back to the very thing we talked about at the beginning about purpose, about mission and vision. If you show that you are involved in the community, that you are local, whether it is participating in charitable events, or it could be going to a trade show just to have a presence, anything that you can do to be visible and also demonstrate your commitment to things in a really honest and authentic way, that goes a long way as far as your brand is concerned. And getting that additional sort of exposure can also help generate word of mouth referrals. And lastly, this one's harder. It is harder to get local PR or media coverage. If you are in a business where, let's say, it is trending, it is a topic of interest, you're more likely to be able to do this because you could be a news source. If it's Small Business Awareness Month, if it's timely, things like that, there's more opportunities there to perhaps get some coverage. If you are also able to share something unique, some great story. Maybe it's about your community involvement or some charity that you supported, or just how your employees, went to some charitable event and volunteered their time. Things like that are just, kind of warm, fuzzy type of things, in addition to being relevant, are things that could be of interest. Whoops. Okay. And that was the last example. And these are really quick and very high level. And it's just to get you thinking about things, because if you don't have a lot of time, you don't have a lot of money, just pick one thing. You don't have to do everything on this list. Just start somewhere, and then just start to feel like you're making a little bit of progress on something that you feel like you can take on. Any questions related to some of those things or anything that we've talked about? Otherwise, I'm going to just do a quick recap and then we'll call it done.
Any questions from anybody? Don't be shy. Yeah, we have Amy. So Amy, please, you'll ask your question.
Good evening. This has been really amazing. So thank you so much. I have a question about target audiences, because I think we're really struggling, but we're struggling with a lot of things I'm noticing in terms of really being aligned on what our brand should be. I think at this stage, I'm in the entertainment business and our brand is kind of trying to be something for everyone, and that doesn't work. But what do you think about surveying some of my top customers? What that would look like to me would be a really identifying who our top 20% customers are, and then personally asking them to help us do market research and creating a survey that they would answer really a lot more specific demographic questions than we actually already know about them. Do you think that's unreasonable?
Oh, goodness, no. It's not only is it not unreasonable, it's quite common. It's a best practice. So it's something that I myself always do. Well, I should say, in my prior career, when I was working at an agency, I was working with a lot of different companies. We always started with research. And a lot of times you don't have money to go out and do like a big research study. So you use the resources you have. So the example that you just gave there, your top customers, asking them simple questions like, why did you pick us? Who else did you consider? What is the reason that you continue to do business with us? It is a fantastic thing to do. You can also look at doing it different ways, where you could do an anonymous survey, or you could ask some of you if you have some really like key customers just to have a conversation with you, kind of do like a personal interview. If you already have a relationship with that person, that actually then also helps build a relationship. So you could do it multiple ways, like an online survey that's anonymous, personal interviews, but it is not unreasonable. It is a great idea. I will say, you said you're in entertainment. If you have a higher end audience, like if I was trying to recruit doctors to find something out, then you got to look at doing incentives probably to kind of get them involved. But if you have an existing relationship, you're good, right? They're already on board. So I think it's a great idea.
Can I just ask, would it be uncommon to ask them demographic things again, like the way I'm imagining is that the approach could be one-on-one. The survey could still be anonymous, but I'm looking for age demographics, income demographics, education. You know, we want to throw a certain type of client into a pool. We want to say, you know, more educated people are more discerning, or, you know, if they have more money, they want to invest in higher quality music, which is not necessarily true, but is it, do you think it's inappropriate or way too invasive in this time?
It has to be anonymous then. So if
Yeah.
you're going to start to ask sensitive questions about age or income and education, then you're going to want to do you can use an online survey platform like SurveyMonkey. I mean, you would need to have email addresses. Make sure that you're making it clear that it's anonymous, because yeah, if you're going to start to go down that way, people would get uncomfortable if they had to disclose who they were. So if you keep it anonymous. The other place that you're going, you don't even realize it, is you're starting to go into more advanced branding, because once you start to have some of that information, you can build personas, which are essentially like archetypes for the type of individuals that you are trying to. You're nodding, so you know this. I'm telling you something you already, but that's great. That's that sort of survey information that helps you actually create well-informed personas. So it's like having this archetype of, here is Bob, who is in this age group and earns this month, and what he's really interested in is XYZ, and it all comes from your research.
Great.
Thank you for asking and for putting your camera on. Really appreciate that.
Great questions. Great. We have a couple more as well that have come through in the chat. Wendy says, for email marketing, is every other week okay, or should it be weekly?
It depends on what you're sending out.
Okay.
Again, it depends on the content. I don't think it needs to be weekly, especially like if you were doing more, I don't know, like you think there's some people that do things like, oh, aggregation from other content sources. Like maybe I'm sharing great recipes I've seen, or a favorite, I don't know, favorite new ingredient I'm using and things. And where it's more like, if you have to do more work to pull that together, it would be too much to try and do that like multiple times a week. That's the kind of thing that you could do like every 2 weeks. But it depends on the content. Is really the answer.
Okay, thank you. And
Yeah.
Eric asks, how important is developing a logo in the early stages of starting a small business?
Well, it is important, because if you are going to have a website, if you're going to have a sign on your door, if you have a physical presence, you're going to need a logo. So that is important. But if you were to go out and try to find a graphic designer to create a logo for you, and you haven't done these sort of things, you're just going to get like guest designs. So you really do need to be clear on who you are as a business. But that is one of the first steps that you're going to want to do if you are going to have a presence, like a website, like a store, that sort of thing. So it is important.
Okay, but it's sequential. You need to know what you're selling, or what your
Yeah,
unique.
because if, let's say I'm a designer and you come to me and you say, oh, I'm a pack ship company, design me a logo, and that's all you say, you're just going to get, you want to be able to describe your brand and what it feels like, and be like, okay, what maybe isn't my brand? Like, you could have something that looks completely cartoony come to you as a solution, and you want to be perceived as a source for professional people on the go that need to drop off package. You really have to be clear, or you're just going to get a guess, and you don't want to guess, especially not when you're first starting out.
Yeah, great. And Stephanie asks, I just started working for a promotional product company called Geiger. How do you feel about promoting your company with branding items related to your business?
It depends on the business and if it's an appropriate item. So if you're just buying tchotchkes, and it doesn't really make sense, if it ties in, if I have a massage business and I have branded stress balls, that makes sense, as opposed to just having a, something that everybody has, like a mug or something like that. But I think it can be effective when it ties into either something that your audience would really like, or what you're selling overall.
Okay, great. Stephanie, I see you're off mute. Maybe you want to just put a bit more color on that question?
Well, I'm trying to also find a title for for what I'm doing, like on my business card. So I want a relevant title on the business cards, because what I'm trying to do is doing what you're saying. When I'm branding, when I'm helping somebody brand their company and brand themselves, I'm trying to find relevant products for them. But now my dilemma is, if I'm going, since I want to do that, I'm trying to figure out, instead of saying an account executive, a sales consultant, I'm trying to figure out a branding name for myself that would stand out and be unique, because I'm unique. When I help a customer, I look at their entire business. I don't want to give them junk to hand out. I want to give them things that people will hold on to so they'll remember them. So I feel like I stand out amongst my peers because I feel like I'm trying to help the business more than most people.
Okay. That's a different question. I misunderstood the question initially. I thought the question was, is it appropriate to use promotional items to sell your business? And you're actually selling the promotional items, and you would help companies do that. That's correct?
Yeah.
And you're trying to figure out how to position yourself.
Yes.
But you're specifically looking for something to put on a business card?
Well, I'm trying to figure out a title for myself, and I came up with 6 titles for myself, and I don't think anybody likes them. So, and
Well,
I thought they were pretty unique. I don't want to just say, "Hey, I'm a sales associate."
okay.
So, I'm trying to figure out some titles, but I'm having a hard time. And I sat there with the thesaurus today trying to do words, to try and figure out, okay, well, what does this word mean to make it relevant? You know what I mean? So just for an example, I said branding visionary consultant, branding visionary leader, idea and branding powerhouse, which my daughter does not like at all, branding and idea generator. So I'm trying to figure out what would be unique to set me apart, to help brand myself as, the go-to person when they need promotional products.
Okay. So you're almost looking for not a company name or a brand positioning. You're actually looking for a way to describe like the functional benefit of what you do.
Yes.
And I think just with the examples that you shared, there's a fine line between being creative and not being clear. And a lot of the things that you just said are so broad that it's not actually communicating what you're doing. So I think maybe try to rein it in a little bit more to start with conveying even what you're doing, as opposed to making it sound like building your brand. I mean, essentially what you said, one of the things that could be me, and I don't do anything near what you do. See what I'm saying? It's so vague because it's so big that if you could narrow it down a little bit, and maybe you need to take a step back and think about it from the business perspective and what the business offers, instead of trying to come up with a functional title for yourself. That might be an easier approach to it, because it's not just, it's thinking bigger than a line on a business card.
Great. I'm just going to jump in there. 𝗏𝗏, she's put something out there that might be helpful for you to write down, a promotional branding consultant. So
There
thank
you
you
go.
for sharing.
The title.
Maybe just make it simple. Make it simple instead of me trying to be a little bit more funky, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just the clarity of what Wendy put out there. I mean, it clearly conveys it. Yeah, it's not sexy, but it's clear. So it's kind of like you have to make it understood to people what you do too, especially with the example that you're giving, at least. But thanks, Wendy, for throwing that out there.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
And Crystal, if you want to come off mute, you have a question for Jennifer as well?
Hi, Jennifer. Yes, I have a question. So with my company, it's fairly new. I just started it a few months ago, and it's a recruiting business that I have. And I'm trying to build my clients, and I am trying to reach out to different companies who I know are looking to hire for different positions.
Yeah.
So I was conducting an email blast, and for me, it wasn't successful. Tracking the emails, the director of HR or maybe the vice president or the CEO, they would not open my emails. So someone suggested maybe, mailing the headquarters and sending a business card, a brochure. But I was also wondering if it would be a good idea to also send promotional items with my company's name on it.
Well, what do you think about trying a digital means before you invest? Because it's expensive to send things through the mail or send product through the mail. And that's not a bad idea because it can get you noticed if you actually end up on someone's desks. But a lot of people are actually not going into offices and at desks too. So that would be the other thing. There's like mail sitting in a mail. Are you on LinkedIn? Have you
I'm on
tried?
LinkedIn.
Okay, but have you actually tried using some of the tools on LinkedIn? Like LinkedIn has something called Sales Navigator, which can
Mhm.
help you identify targets and actually kind of maybe do more of a personal approach to things rather than an email blast. Have you explored that?
I've tried. I'm not getting any type of response.
Ha- To your, have you tried doing things like the emails or publishing through LinkedIn and trying to build a following that way? You could actually publish content on LinkedIn and then you
Mhm.
could start to follow some of those companies that you're interested in, start to
Mhm.
chat them up, or if you have something to share that shows your expertise, like, hey,
Mhm.
Kelly in HR, check out my latest piece on, how to recruiting made easier, whatever it is. That if you have something to kind of start a conversation, and then you
Mhm.
don't try to sell anything, you walk away
Okay.
and share that. You can also with LinkedIn, if you start to publish content through LinkedIn, you can actually do newsletters through LinkedIn too, which sometimes people are more apt to opt into those sort of things rather than your personal corporate email addresses and things like that.
Mhm.
Um, the mail is not a bad thing, but it is expensive, so, and you
Okay.
really need to make sure you have a really good list. Unless
Mhm.
you have the right people, if you are sure, are you sure you have the right decision makers and the right names and a good list? And if you are that
Okay.
sure that you have the right name, I'd try LinkedIn and try that. Even with taking 10 people a day and actually trying
Mhm.
to reach out, make a personal connection and start there. Show yourself as a human being rather than just something coming through the mail.
Oh, okay. And then how soon after would you say, after I have established a personal connection, um, how soon after would you start saying, hey, this is what I can do for you?
So I'm in branding, not sales. But
Okay.
it's like dating, right? I
Yes.
mean, you gotta go out a few times before you ask for the first kiss. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Crystal.
Great. That's great. That's a great analogy as well. And Stephanie's put something in here about kitting. So she's offering some services to you, Crystal, as well.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. Great. I think that's it so far. Any other final questions for Jennifer?
All
Right.
right. Then I'm just going to recap really fast and remind you that this takes time and it takes consistent effort, but you have to do it. You have to differentiate yourself, connect with your audience, and that's what's going to help you build loyalty. From the very beginning, we looked at those strong brands. They have that clear, unique, and consistent approach, and you have to do it across touch points. That's what's going to make you memorable. That's what's going to make a trusted brand, and that's what's going to make an impact. And it is an ongoing process. So just like investing in your business, if you stop investing in your business, customers notice. And if you stop investing in your brand, customers will notice. So my parting words to you are stay true to your brand, keep your brand promise, keep your commitment, and deliver that brand promise consistently. And thank you for your time because your time is super valuable. I have the utmost respect for anybody that tries to develop a small business, and I know that it's hard to find even an hour. So thank you.